Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're completely shattering the illusion that buying fake luxury goods is just some harmless, victimless crime. We're digging into the true cost of counterfeits. Often when people buy a knockoff watch or a fake designer bag, they think they're just scoring a great deal. You might even think you're sticking it to a faceless corporation, right? But the truth is, you're actually just buying a timeshare in a global crime syndicate. So let's get right into it. Picture a massive, heavy-duty steamroller just aggressively crushing thousands of confiscated counterfeit watches. It seems intense, doesn't it? Almost over the top. You might be thinking, well, why not just throw them in the trash or recycle the parts? But this aggressive public destruction is actually a completely necessary response to a massive global problem. It's a powerful statement from authorities, and honestly, as we'll see today, this level of intense pushback is entirely justified. That dramatic steamroller response makes total sense when you look at the sheer scale of the issue. $400 billion. Let that sink in for a second. Counterfeiting is an estimated $400 billion annual industry globally. That is the astronomical amount of sales generated by fake goods every single year. We aren't talking about a few shady operators selling watches out of a trench coat anymore. We're talking about a highly organized, massively lucrative global economic machine that touches almost every industry you can think of. So first things first, we absolutely need to dismantle the harmless crime myth. We so often think of fakes simply as intellectual property theft. We picture a massive, wealthy brand losing a tiny, insignificant fraction of its profits to a copycat. And honestly, it's easy for some people to just shrug that off. But the source material makes it crystal clear. Yes, counterfeiting drains brands of their substance, but the ripple effects are what make this a full-blown crisis. The reality goes far, far beyond a corporate bottom line. Because even before we get into the really dark criminal elements, just consider the immediate fallout. Counterfeiting is already actively threatening existing jobs, it's doing serious harm to the environment, and it is putting consumer health at immense risk. Think about it. Fake medicines, faulty electronics, or toxic materials used in fake clothing. These aren't manufactured with safety standards or environmental regulations in mind. They're churned out as cheaply and quickly as possible to get a slice of that $400 billion pie, leaving a huge trail of physical and environmental damage in their wake. Section 1. Funding the criminal underworld. Because that astronomical $400 billion, it doesn't just sit innocently in some bank account. It's fuel. This is the nightmare scenario we have to face. The fake goods industry directly finances criminal organizations. We're talking groups linked to drug trafficking, illegal gambling, prostitution, extortion, money laundering, and human trafficking. Buying a fake literally funds organized crime. When someone hands over cash for a cheap knockoff, a portion of that money goes straight into funding these horrific acts. It's a direct, undeniable supply chain to human misery. Section 2. The Swiss watch crisis, a global microcosm. To really wrap our heads around how this illicit supply chain operates, let's zoom in on a specific case study. The legitimate Swiss watch industry produces around 30 million genuine original watches every single year. But on the flip side, tens of millions of fake Swiss watches are offered for sale annually. The counterfeit market is rivaling and practically matching in sheer volume a legitimate industry that has spent centuries building its reputation. It's wild. And if you break those numbers down even further, when we look at global customs seizures, the actual goods intercepted at borders, fake watches account for a massive 9% of all seized items. That makes watches the second most counterfeited product in the entire world, sitting just right behind textiles and clothing. Now, 9% might sound like a small slice, but remember, we are talking about a $400 billion global pie. It is a massive, highly targeted segment of the black market. So how did it get this bad? Well, 2 words, the internet. The internet has completely revolutionized this illicit trade. It gives counterfeiters 2 huge advantages: a cloak of complete anonymity and the total removal of physical intermediaries. You no longer have to go to a shady back alley or a sketchy flea market to buy a fake. You can literally do it from your couch with a credit card, totally hidden behind a screen. This incredible ease of access has drastically boosted fake watch sales, directly connecting global crime syndicates to everyday consumers. And for the criminals themselves, these fakes serve a highly lucrative dual purpose. Basically, watch counterfeiting is a brilliantly effective way for unscrupulous entrepreneurs to launder money obtained from other unlawful activities. It is a continuous, vicious cycle. They make dirty money from drugs or extortion. They use it to manufacture or buy fake watches. They sell those watches online to unsuspecting or sometimes entirely willing consumers, and boom, the money comes back to them completely clean.
It's an incredibly efficient tool for organized crime.
Section 3. The power of your wallet and the buyer's role.
At the end of the day, all of this rampant criminality relies on one single thing to survive: us. You might think, hey, buying just one fake isn't a big deal, or maybe that you can't really get in trouble if it's just for yourself. But in Switzerland and actually in many other countries around the world, importing a counterfeit watch is strictly forbidden by law. And here's the kicker: that applies even in the case of one-off pieces, bought in good faith, strictly for private use. The legal system is incredibly clear on this, and authorities are cracking down hard on the consumer side to choke the flow of these goods.
The source material hits us pretty bluntly with this. It says, when we buy a fake watch, we're getting into bed with highly disreputable circles and getting caught up in a scenario of, ultimately, nightmare proportions. And look, that isn't just dramatic phrasing, it's the literal truth. By participating in this market, we're intimately tying ourselves to that horrific criminal underworld we talked about. We essentially become these silent, indirect financiers of extortion, drug cartels, and human trafficking. Ultimately, there's just no dodging the facts here. Our behavior as consumers is the absolute heart of this universal problem. The reality is remarkably simple. Without demand, the supply of counterfeit goods would completely dry up. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this thought. Knowing everything we've just uncovered today, knowing the true, devastating human cost hidden behind that cheap price tag, is the fleeting illusion of wearing a luxury brand really worth funding a global nightmare? Just think about that the next time you're tempted by a deal that looks a little too good to be true.